we're joined on this 8th day of the government shutdown by Democratic Congresswoman Chellie Pingree of Maine. Congresswoman, good morning to you. Thanks for the time this morning. What's been the impact of the shutdown in your district, the 1st District of Maine, sort of that southern district in the Pine Tree State?
Sure. Well, thanks very much for having me. I would say the number one impact is just the high level of concern that people have about the uncertainty. We don't have as many federal workers, of course, as many states like Maryland and Virginia, but we do have Acadia National Park. This is one of the most high traffic seasons there as the leaves start to change color. So the whole issue around, will the park be closed? It's not completely closed, but it has a limited amount of personnel. And how do you manage that many people? Do the visitors get the same experience? Where do they go for information? That is certainly one of the concerns. And, while you might say, oh, it's just a park, it's vacation. The fact is it's a huge economic driver, particularly for the communities that surround it, that are worried about, will people stop coming? What's going to happen? Will it be a bad visitor experience? And also long-term damage to this park and so many of our others that are experiencing the same issues. So I would say that's the thing I've certainly heard people talking about most. But then again, the uncertainty and, will this impact me? How's it going to, all the questions that people are raising that they don't know about how it will impact their lives. And as shutdowns continue, as we know, there's more and more challenges that go on and more federal workers who have to figure out, I'm living by paycheck. How do I handle this? Just the many things that you hear about all the time.
So is it time to make a deal? How do you see this ending?
Hey, as you've heard our leader say, he'll sit down anywhere, anytime, any place. He was right there at the White House when the president asked him. I think there's plenty of opportunities to make a deal. I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee. We're on call, come in any moment of the day, be ready to make any kind of a deal. But the Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. They have the ability to reverse this in a moment. I know that many of my Republican colleagues are worried about exactly the same things that we are. That's the enhanced premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, which kicks in on November 1st, but people are getting the notices now. And that compounded with the damage done by the big ugly bill, where there were huge cuts to Medicaid, other things that will imperil our local hospitals. So there are things we have to discuss now. And this idea of waiting 7 weeks, which was their CR proposal to get this all done. Like I said, I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee. We've been in 92 hours of markup on our 12 bills. So it's not as if we haven't spent many hours trying to negotiate these things. We've hit a stone wall. Even our colleagues on appropriations who are willing to negotiate basically get orders from their leadership to say, no, we're not going along with anything.
So what's an acceptable deal in your mind? Is an acceptable deal opening the government back up with a promise to have those discussions before, within the next 7 weeks, before the impact of some of those subsidies take place?
Well, as you hear almost every negotiator say, look, I'm not going to say what my bottom line is in the middle of a negotiation. So, of course, you go in with a big ask and then you see what you can get. We don't want this government to stay shut down any longer than it has to be. And we wish it wasn't shut down at all. In fact, we wish the Republicans would have just agreed to do these things without having to shut down. But this notion that we will just go into a conversation, that's what they said in the beginning, like, oh, that's an interesting problem. You've got a healthcare issue? Well, we'd be willing to talk about that. Sorry, but that's just kind of bullshit. It's like, wait, we have to concretely decide that these are the things that will go into that bill. We have to get back into the negotiations. When they said, give us 7 weeks to negotiate this stuff, this has been 9 months, and we've watched them dismantle government, cut employees, cut funding, many of them in illegal and unconstitutional ways. We got to have a lot more than a promise to discuss it.
What's the conversation been like within the Pine Tree State delegation? What do you make of Senator Angus King and Jared Golden voting for the CRs to keep the government open?
Well, it's not unlike our delegation of 4 to split all over the place. We're usually very much unified when it comes to issues relating our big shipyard or any of the things that, are critically important to our state. But we often have different opinions about how to go about this. And 2 members, well, actually 3, I'm the only one who voted to oppose this CR. I think they all thought, well, some of the arguments they made were like, oh, well, if you shut the government down and you let Russ vote and, Donald Trump just kind of have a free for all, they might do more damage. I mean, that was the same argument we went through in March, and we went ahead with the CR. I didn't vote for it then either, but the fact is, now we've had many more months of experience. And I say to all my colleagues, Senator Collins knows this a little more firsthand because she is on the Appropriations Committee. But to the other two, I say, get into my shoes, 92 hours of markups, and these guys don't move. What makes you think that they won't continue to dismantle the government, even if you vote for a shutdown? So I think we have to use the leveraging power that we have. I appreciate that different members of Congress, vote different ways and have their opinions about things. But in this case, I think I'm solidly right and they are wrong.
Just one more follow-up on that. Jared Golden, his statement after he voted for it. Some of my colleagues in the majority party, the Republican Party, have reasonable concerns about tax credits going to high-income households. There's room and there's time to negotiate, but normal policy disagreements are no reason to subject our constituents to the continued harm of this shutdown.
Yeah, well, I mean, bringing up the issue about how those tax credits work, my understanding is that, very few of the enhanced premium tax credits go to anybody with a high income. They're basically able to pay for their insurance themselves. It has to be a certain percentage of your income. So you have to pay something like $4,000 or $5,000 a month in premiums for that to kick in if you've got an income, say $300,000-$400,000. And that means almost nobody in Maine. We're the 38th in per capita income in this country, so that doesn't really cover us. The second thing is, I've heard Richie Neal, who's our ranking member on Ways and Means, say, "Hey, there might be some argument for bringing that cap back." I think it was there before. Some recent changes in the last couple of years. So I think there's wiggle room there, but you're just talking about one piece of this. So yeah, that should be part of the negotiation if that's what we want to negotiate. But you certainly can't hang your hat on saying like, oh, that will be enough to fix the whole thing. We got a big problem in front of us. And I think the biggest argument the Republicans keep giving us is, well, this doesn't kick in until December 31st. Why are you worrying about it now? Well, people are getting their notices in October. They got to make this decision in November. And from what I've heard from many of my constituents, some of whom have either gone on the calculator or who have already gotten their notices, they're saying my premium is going to increase 200%, twice as much as it was, more than my mortgage. And many people will decide to drop their health insurance, and then we'll be right back where we were before we passed the Affordable Care Act in 2009 or 10. I mean, that's crazy. In Congress, we have the ability to see ahead. We know what's going to happen here. That is exactly why the Republicans went ahead and extended the tax credits for the wealthiest people in this country. They didn't expire till December 31st either, but they had to get the big bill passed a long time ago. So I say the same thing to them. If you care about people's health care, get on this task now.
Is it a strange time to be on the same side of Marjorie Taylor Greene when it comes to avoiding premium hikes? So what did you make of her statement, her criticism of Republican leadership on this issue?
I think all too often on the outside, people think that like we sit on opposite sides of the aisle and there's an invisible barrier and we can't talk. We don't know each other. I mean, many Democrats have good friends on both sides of the aisle. It is not at all unusual to see a bill that has odd bedfellows. It might be about healthcare, it might be about stock trading. I sign bills often with Representative Massey. He and I both, we both raise some of our own food and live off of the grid. So we're often on the same side related to certain agriculture issues. I had a conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene not too long ago, just telling her I was pleased to see she opposed the bombing in Iran. So I'm not surprised at all that there are members who have different ideas. There is no such thing as a locked in sort of siloed position in Congress. And, oh, if you're a progressive here, if you're a Freedom Caucus here, we cross over on all kinds of things, whether they're privacy, security, the Epstein files, it doesn't matter. Congress isn't a monolith. I'm pleased that she's speaking up. I think she has an important voice in her caucus. We don't have to agree on everything, but it's good when we have those areas of agreement, and we should fight together on the same front.
And C-SPAN's new program, Ceasefire, sort of highlighting those areas of agreement from members on different sides of the aisle. The Ceasefire program airing on the C-SPAN networks, and its premiere coming up this Friday. So hope you join us on that. And Congresswoman, might be something for you to join us on down the road. While we have you, I think we've got you for about